Welcome back to the Maturity Project. For those that are coming back, those that are subscribed, have watched this channel before, this is the Maturity Project. I am your host, Chad Everett Bro Shears. And simple way to intro, 8 areas of maturity. You are the cavalry because they ain't coming. So if you need your life fixed, you need to get to work on it. Plus, if you're given something, somebody does it for you, what happens when it's lost or whenever it's gone? Or when the evolved circumstances come along that what somebody did for you is antiquated or it's outdated? What do you do with that? You won't have the degree of functionality necessary to be successful at it. It's just a thought of the day. Now, today's conversation, it's about what an incredibly brilliant thing that we have. The human body itself, human existence itself, is incredibly impressive. It blows my mind how dynamic we are, how we seem to have things established, ready to deal with our environment that we still don't even understand. You know, because what I was thinking about earlier today that really brought this into perspective is we just have this weird, almost like a PR company, a personal relations company got a hold of Optimism. You know, and it may sound like I attack optimism often. All I'm doing is trying to bring that particular viewpoint, you know, back to a level playing field that doesn't cause as much chaos and frustration or take people out of the game of life. So I speak about it often enough because it's the most prevalent part in our society when it comes to which are you, a pessimist or an optimist and all this stuff. And I'm like, all it is that we have this really interesting thing, right? So we as a species have pessimism prepares you for the worst. It prepares you for the hard times. It prepares you for the struggles. If you're not sure whether or not you're going to have a really harsh winter and you need to harvest things in order to procure enough to survive throughout the winter. And you have to get the right things, all this stuff, right? You just got to get all of the stuff that your family or you and your whoever is dependent on you, what you are going to need. And if you're optimistic about it, then you might get up in the morning and you go out and you're just like, whistling while you work and, you're cheerful and having a good time. But around, later in the day, there's going to be a pretty good chance you're going to be like, all right, I guess I got enough. That's good enough. Let's go to do something else. Let's move on. Where a pessimist would get up, likely they're going to be like, look, I don't want to deal with all that struggle, all that hardship. I don't want to deal with all of that stuff. I'm going to get up early. I'm going to get up real early. And I'm going to make sure that I work longer and harder than where I would normally quit because I know that I need to secure enough in order to prevent myself from starving or the people that are dependent on me from starving in the winter. So that's one particular view of it. The other is, it's kind of almost sounds like a lineup for a joke. But, you have an optimist and a pessimist standing in tall grass somewhere, and, where tigers are known to be. And, the wind blows, or at least you hear a tussle in the grass, but you can't see what it is. The optimist may think it's just wind. The pessimist doesn't give a damn. They're already running. They're running away from the direction of the sound. So which one is likely to be the meal for a tiger is the one that's like, it's probably not a tiger. It could just be the wind. Why should we run away from this? We got other things we can do right now. And the pessimist says, I don't give a crap. I'm out. And they take off. So it's really fascinating when you get into how we've tried to convince ourselves. It's almost like we bought a product. Like we were sold something. And it's like you got to be positive or you're never, you're unfit for society. We need to, outs you. You don't belong here. That's the way we seem to treat it when you are a pessimist. But from the optimist position, is you're the right place in the right time. I got yoga pants and some yoga, and we're gonna do yoga later. Maybe some Pilates, and we're gonna wine our night away, right? It's pretty fascinating when you get into that. But when you get down to, if you start eliminating the PR campaign for optimism, you can get into the adjustable position, right? We have so many ways that we want to label things, but all it is just to try to create another fixed or bracketed place. You don't have to do any of that crap. Look, if what you're about to get into you know little to nothing about, but you have a desire that you come out doing very well with the situation, you can oscillate between good and the pessimism and optimism. It's pretty simple. You just let the natural process occur, and you use logic to help shift you. Treat it like gears, right? The vehicle slows down enough, you can't stay in a high gear. In this scenario, the high gear would be an optimism. But in the low gear would be pessimism, right? You got to get it down to that low gear, but you're doing it in a way that you're just trying to muscle through something. In that higher gear, you're just trying to fly high, man, having a good time. So, you you can switch. I've done it. I went through a really nasty phase of optimism in my let's see, it was my mid 20s, where I'm just like, man, this is great. Doesn't matter. There's always something good going to come out of something, no matter what. And I'm like, you know what? Now in my adult life, and my much more mature adult life, I will say 100%, things will get better. If right now is a really hard time in your life, things will get better. 100%. And then things are going to get worse. 100%. That 100% is just put at the moment where you realize things are either better or they're worse. But the ultimate truth is that you're just going to ride a roller coaster in life. If you pay more attention to where you're adjusting yourself in your psychology and your associated attachments to outcomes, you can start to trust that you have a greater brilliance within you that does not take conscious override. So your subconscious continues to work, right? You have an ego. You have the super ego, right? You've got the id, or the id. You've got different things, right? Because that's Freudian. These things work autopilot. You don't need to do anything for them. The beautiful thing about it is that you can cultivate and direct it, though. It's just not direct, but you can direct it. So if you feel that, you want a little bit more of the desirable outcome in life, that gut feeling you get about things, if you really just let this program run on autopilot, the pessimism and optimism thing, where you're just oscillating between those, if you let that run on autopilot, you're going to find that it actually will have a greater wisdom that you're not necessarily perceiving. The thing is that we get attached to the immediate result, and we don't understand necessarily that what we've actually done is maybe we're playing a long game and we don't even realize it. So you can convince and you can develop. You can develop this by logic, but you can convince yourself by overriding it, going, no matter what, I want to stay attached to that outcome. I'm going to have the best part of this. I'm going to be the winner of this, whatever, no matter what. And then people get into this naive realism where it's, or actually I would say it's naive optimism. No. It doesn't matter what you just said. I'm blocking it out. The truth is that I'm right, no matter what. You just got your leg lopped off, in this horrific accident. Yeah, something good's going to come out of it. It gets pretty sticky in that way. But if you keep going, go further back, way past the modern day, where we didn't have the privilege that we currently have to sit around and to consider all of these things about life, and the philosophies, and the psychology of human beings, and the comforts that modern day brings us, that we can actually have what we have, that has given us opportunities to really move ourselves as a species forward, but the majority of us is like, all right, well, I don't have to work as hard anymore, so I'm not going to. And then we settle in and we say, hey, you know what? I've done a pretty good day's worth of work. I don't need to do anything else. And then it's just like going on easy street. Before you know it, what today is easy work turns into tomorrow's hard work because you're deconditioning yourself. Same thing happens with your optimism and pessimism. If you're overly attached to optimism, you'll start avoiding and neglecting the things that actually say you need to put attention here. The negative side of things, you need to put attention there. And that pessimistic idea of, hey, this is not okay, this is not good, gets stifled by the I would rather just be happy right now. I love the way that the endorphins feel. You know, don't mess with my positive vibes, man. Keep it, just go back, as I was starting to say earlier. Go back past all of these modern day luxuries that we have. By the way, modern day luxuries are not just in the technology. It's also the cushiness of our life, how easy it is on us right now to just exist. You know, if you're hungry, you can get into a food line. You don't need to go find something, you know, forage or hunt for your food. You can just, your forage and hunting is on your smartphone. You know, where's the closest restaurant? Or, you know, can you loan me a few bucks? I need to go get something if you're really low on cash. Things like that. We've got a lot of modern conveniences that are just softening us, and we've really lost touch with some things because of that. But if you go back far enough before we had all these modern conveniences, you actually had to listen to these things. Where it's like, I don't know if you should go out there. You know, it's this almost this occurrence of common sense concept. You know, it's like you need to be careful when you go out there because you just don't know. And you know, a guy from the town over didn't come back, and we found, you know, the parts of him after, you know, the day after, because he was attacked by something. You know, be careful when you're out there. I hear something, oh my god, you know, suspense in a movie. That's not optimism that's showing up, right? That's a natural human reaction to something. You know, it's like, oh shit, you know, be careful, oh my god. We have that for a reason. Why do we also, you know, some of us like movies that stimulate the sympathetic reaction like that? Why? You know, it's pretty neat. Think about it. Nothing is an accident. It's just your ability to comprehend what it is. If you're less mature, you also have less ability to comprehend what it is. You can theorize or hypothesize all you want, whatever it is, but it doesn't mean you're actually going to get it. You know, yeah. So we have these for a reason, these viewpoints, and it goes back. And we have other great things too. Now, as I was starting to talk about this earlier, it's not just optimism and pessimism, but it's also every emotion has something that can override it. But how it comes in and how it overrides is interesting. So we'll have emotions that occur to us that we're like, you know what, you need to change your mindset and you'll have a different outcome. It's true. But are you prematurely pulling yourself out of a mindset that you need to sit in a little bit longer? Because if you don't, you're going to miss, if you don't stay in it longer, the lesson may elude you. And then you're going to be doomed to repeat. I don't know about you, but I do prefer not to repeat things if I don't have to. But I'll tell you what, I love repeating things when I have to. Yeah. Because I embrace it and I'm like, son of a bitch, I should have got this last time. That's all right, I'll get it this time. So, yeah. But we have all these emotional values. Well, whenever you're upset, you'll have the other side of the emotions that actually come in and work like an antidote. It is really interesting, but there's this thing that's just occurring to us that actually helps keep us in check with reality with other people, without our necessarily our, you know, fully qualifying it within ourselves. So, it's interesting. You can wash it out. You know, why is it whenever you're really happy and you're having a great time, you're just full of excitement? Why don't you stay locked in that? Just as an evolutionary position, right? Just like evolution in itself. Once you get really excited, Why don't we have an ability to lock that in? Like, all right, lock it in here, we're good. Well, that's because we're not supposed to stay in one emotion for too long. We have a lot of emotions for a reason. We certainly are not there to keep it in place for too long. It's fascinating. Even if everything seems to be desirable, what brought us pleasure yesterday may bring us a little less pleasure today, and tomorrow will be more diminishing of that same thing. You can see this with wealthy people. You can see this with people that have access to a lot of different resources. You can see this with people that actually get locked in, even with just stuck on optimism or stuck on happy. It just eventually, it's not enough. It's got to be more, because discontent sets in whenever familiarity becomes common. Oh, so yeah, it's fascinating. Anyway, well, I'm not planning to make a long video today. This is more of an introduction. I have been actively working on and writing the relationship workbook. Again, I still don't have a name for it, but I'm working on it. To give you more of an insight on what that is, just imagine that you have, and you probably already are in this situation. If you're in a relationship with somebody, married, or you got a boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever, you have some sort of partnership or something going on, or whatever, you have probably realized that there are definitely times that you have not been able um, to feel like you're fully synchronized with your partner if you're not with anybody. Or in your previous experience in relationships, I'm sure there's times whenever you're like, I don't even know who the hell you are, but I thought I did. Or I can't believe you have upset me. Or you feel like you're walking on eggshells, and that could be you giving yourself the eggshells, versus the other person has these expectations that they don't want you to violate. But you meet somebody, and you can take all of your previous experiences and actually put them to good use instead of avoiding that type of person, which takes a lot of energy, and it's a different trajectory when you lock in on that type of projection of emotion. I want to avoid this. I don't want to ever get it again. It's like that's a trajectory that you're setting out in emotions. Because you've created a radar setting that says if these things show up, then I'm going to have problems with it, and I'm going to do what I can to move away from it. So you meet somebody and you say, you know what? I'm interested. I'm interested in you. Now imagine that you have already sat down or you've already worked through the workbook on this, where you know exactly what type of relationship structure you want to have, whether that's going to be monogamous or open or whatever version that we have currently in our society, which is, it's ever growing to different descriptions and definitions for different types of relationships. So we've got these things happening regularly, but so we've got all of these different things going on. But imagine you sit down and you're like, that's the kind of relationship I want. Now you have the power of an ability to communicate it instead of trying to figure it out with somebody, right? Well, then you get into, well, you know what? I've had meaningful relationships in the past, but I just didn't seem like I felt like the person really cared for me. Well, what's the epiphany of caring, right? Is usually the title is love. The word that we use for the highest echelon of relationship caring is, I love you, I'm in love with you, in love with, and I love you deeply. That's kind of like where you get to, right? Well, how many people have actually defined that? It's not the dictionary's version, by the way. Very few people can actually recall the dictionary's version of love when I ask the question. And there's no cheating with the smartphone, no pulling out the dictionary, whatever. What is your definition of love? Because if you don't know it and you're looking for it, good luck finding it. You don't have what is necessary in order to find it, because you haven't even defined it yet. So, all right, so you've got that work done. You have a definition that works for you for love. Now you can share it with the person if you're interested in actually going that far to say, hey, this is what love means to me. This is what by definition, this is it to me. So you have that. You have the structure that you want to do this thing in. And then you have what level of a relationship do you want to have? Do you want to be friends with benefits, which is like a level 1? Do you want to be a level 2, which is casual? We'll see each other, within a certain amount of frequency. And we're going to, you set the terms to all of these, by the way. Like, whenever we're friends with benefits, this is what I expect. Never make eye contact with me in public. Never. Nobody's to know. We're just friends until we're not. So then you got the casual. We're like, yeah, we go out, we have dates, we've gone to dinner and stuff, we watch movies, we go over and hang out with each other at each other's houses, we've played with the dogs, whatever the heck it is, right? We go fishing, whatever those things are. There's activities associated with casual dating, but it's not real serious, and there's room for seeing other people with that if that's what you want to do in a casual setting. But again, it's based off of your declaration. So, what kind of relationship are you wanting to be in? By the way, you're doing all this work before you sit down with this other person. Because when it's all over, you've already done your work and you're interested in that person. You would give them the companion book to this and you'd have them fill it out without you. Have them completely do it, which I do suggest. By when will you have this done? And in the beginning of a relationship, that's pretty common. Somebody's going to follow through because it's early, it's new, and they have other things they're probably really interested in that they're willing to do that work for. So you've got everything's in your favor at this moment. And if they decide not to do it, and it's important to you to actually have a meaningful relationship, no matter what level of relationship you have, you're probably going to have a different experience with that person if they're unwilling to do the work. Because if you're willing to do the work and they're not, then, it's kind of up to you if you still get involved with them, but you have more ability to understand who the hell you're actually about to date. So, but casual. Then you have long term. Long term could be simply as I just want to be with somebody for a long time. I don't want to deal with the dating scene. I want to have consistency. I want to build something that at least, I feel comfortable going home to. We could talk about living together. We can be potentially married. We could have kids, those kind of things. That's all long term values. And then there's power couples. Power couples are very commonly long term, but that's not an exclusive guarantee. There's reasons not to be long term for some power couples. It could be, somebody might not be able to be here in a couple of years. They may have to move, or they have bad health, or something is going on that actually would have them not be part of your life directly as a power couple anymore, or at least as a relationship-based couple. There's a lot of things that could actually be there, but that's unique to you two, or whoever, however many people's involved, because again, it also depends on that. Because there's polyamorous and there's all kinds of things when it comes to the different types, different structures of relationships. So you go into this and you already know what type or what structure of a relationship do you want to run by. Now, what level are you looking for? Are you looking for long term? Well, but what does that mean to you? Looking for a partner in crime. Well, I'll tell you right now, I don't want a rap sheet, so I'm not looking for a Bonnie and Clyde. I'm no Tommy gun hanging out of the side of a classic Ford for me. So that's not going to work for this guy. So it's like you really have to have clarity, and most people aren't going to do the work, but they're going to occupy so much of their life looking for the right relationship, and they're doing it more like playing the lottery. Why? You don't have to. It won't take much to make a kind of relationship that really does something to make a difference in your life. And it's not like makes a difference in your life that they're going to financially support you. Although, hey, if that's between you and the other person, nobody's business outside of that. You also can stop caring what other people think as much because you have a lot of clarity about what you're doing. And then you just make sure the world is prepared to understand that if they ever come around to try to find out. If you choose that, I'd choose discretion of mine. I don't really want to share a whole lot about what I do in my private life in that way, but I'm also kind of an open book, so it's a little bit of a dichotomy there that I can have some challenges with at times, but at the same time there are definitely parts of my personal life that is none of your business, and I'm not going to share it. That's not to be rude, it's my private personal life, but I've also created a maturity project, so it does get into some pretty in-depth and vulnerable things, but there's still going to be some things I hold dear and secretive, because it's also not just me. Somebody else has got something going on there, and I may not, I'm not going to violate their trust in that way or their privacy. So then you get into love languages. How exactly do you express love? How do you do it? There's a book, and I do recommend this. It's part of the curriculum. It's part of the required reading in this particular course that I'm designing. That is love languages. It's the 5 love languages. Well, once you finish the 5 love languages, then I'll start educating you on the 5 sex languages. Yeah, how they actually correlate, but they're not exclusively the same. Just because you choose to express the way you love in one way, and you choose to receive, or that's how you receive, not how you receive it, I apologize. You receive expressions of love in another way. And it might line up with the way you express it, but that's not a guarantee. If you've read the 5 love languages, you know that's actually built into that education. I love the book. I think they did a great job. I'm a huge advocate for having that kind of clarity, and I am so grateful the guy wrote the damn book, man. It is good. So then you get into the 5 sex languages, and the 5 sex languages are really understand like the same concepts of love. It's just what is your method for expressing deep sexual satisfaction and gratification, and how do you ensure that your partner also gets to experience what they want to experience so that you can have remarkable sexual encounters with your partner. So that's built into this education. Power couples, that's something that, by the way, at the end of the workbook is the agreement. Like there's actually a written agreement at the end. What kind of relationship are you wanting to have on your own book when you do your own book? It's yours. You write everything out, beginning to end. You do it all. It'll tell you exactly where to do it, and if there's something that is exempt from writing in, you don't write it in there. That's it. It's really simple. When you meet that person that you're interested in, you give them the companion book. Now, that companion book is for them to do without you. But I do suggest, one, you've already gone through it, so you already have an idea about how this thing works. Do not guide them in any way outside of just giving them some insights, but do not tell them what you put down. That is not for you to do. Do not taint the pool. Leave it alone. You want them to be honest. You want them to tell you who they really are. That's what you want. You want them to feel safe and secure. Be like, look, you can't answer this wrong. You can't. Here's the deal. They can't answer it wrong unless they try to answer it right. Right? The only way to answer it right is to do the honest version, just to tell the truth, exactly what's true. Because just because you convince me of a lie today doesn't mean that in 2 years or 2 years and 9 months that we're going to find out it was a lie. You know? It's going to turn out that there's going to be hardship associated with it that we could have overcome in the beginning. So don't lie, and create a safe enough space for that person to be like, look, this is it. This is it. You can create the dream relationship right now. Here's the packet. This is yours. Fill this out. Come up with a timeline so that it's not left out there and then it turns out that it hits a coffee table. I would not do a second date unless the person did the work. So, if nothing else, if it's a friends with benefits thing, do the first part, the second part, the third part, get to the friends with benefits portion, stop there, and then go straight to the end. Skip the rest of the stuff. Friends with benefits agreement. Tell me what that is. Tell me what your agreement is for a friends with benefits. That's it. That's all I want to know. Because that's where you are. And then whenever I get the booklet, so when you receive it from the person, or in this scenario, like, hey, I gave this to somebody, they give it to me, they bring it back, we go over it together at that point, but we take the couple portion of it. So how does this thing work together? And you go through it, you read it, and then you decide whether or not you're going to fill that out. If you decide you're going to fill it out, then you go line by line and you make sure you have a complete agreement on each one of the steps that you need to have, so that when you get to the agreement portion, the actual written out thing, you've got the whole thing covered for the level that you're wanting to work in and the type of relationship you want to have. And then you have the agreement that says this works for me or it doesn't. If you have compromises, you talk about it. Look, I'm not going to reject you right off the face of it. If it's a hard no for me, it's a hard no. If it's a soft no, we can talk about that. I might have a compromise, or we might be able to come up with something that actually doesn't feel like a compromise either. It might be an evolved version of this thing. Whatever. You have so much workability when you're dealing with it that way. Every 6 months to 1 year, depending on the kind of relationship you're doing and depending on the frequency of which you actually see each other and what kind of growth you're going through, you would revisit this and you would write out everything again. But you would do it in a way that's evolved. You can take the old one and you say, all of this is due, so I don't need to do the extra, I don't need to do the repeat work. Like, I don't need to repeat this stuff. This is all fine. Nothing's changed here. Nothing changed for you, right? Not a single thing. Nothing changed here for me either. Next line. Same thing. Same. Good. Don't need to continue to rework something. You're not being lazy. You just don't have to do it if you don't have to do it. But I would read the question and make sure that both of you have verbal confirmation that nothing's changed there. As soon as you find something that changed, you have a new portion of the agreement. You got something you need to do. Now, I promise you, this will reduce the heartache in your life, and you're going to feel so effing empowered by this, because it's going to give you workability that nobody seems to have, because it doesn't matter where you turn. Social media doesn't matter where it is, or just in your regular life. Everybody's got a fucked up relationship. It's all over the place. So, with that, you'll revisit, you'll rewrite, you'll evolve it. You might start off as friends with benefits and you end up becoming a power couple. Why were you friends with benefits in the first place? That's not part of the book, by the way. This is more on the coaching side of it. Why were you friends with benefits in the first place? I didn't have time to get involved with somebody because I read this much. I'm this active in my community. I have these kind of ambitions. These are things that I'm working on. This is the kind of, overall study that I need to do academically, or just the overall intelligence, not just reading, but, the actual intentional stuff, which could be the same thing, but some people read for pleasure. Some people read for work. Some people do both for, all the time, like me. So you just have those different things. You just understand it. So by the end of it, you can go, hey, we started off because we were too busy. I just wanted to feel intimacy, and I wanted to feel intimacy with somebody I clicked with. I was tired of being alone, but I was so busy I didn't really realize I was alone until it really hit me, and then it was really kind of distracting or crushing. I just wanted to take that edge off. Or I was incredibly horny. There's a lot of things that start these types of relationships, but then they can evolve. And you can go from friends with benefits, next thing you know, you're casual, you're actually open to tell people you're out dating each other, stuff like that. And then it gets into, I want to make this a bit more serious. You might even skip long term and go straight into power couple. Because look, I'm ambitious, I'm working on a lot. Like me personally, I'm working on the maturity project. This is my life's work. Right? It's not a hobby. This is what I've devoted my life to. I take a lot of very serious intent with what I'm up to with this. Because Calvary ain't coming, right? Nobody's going to come save you. I have to create the thing that does help save humanity, but I want this to be the thing that actually has everybody save themselves. The majority, nearly everything we're missing, and I could attribute everything we're missing to maturity, is if you haven't developed yourself, grown and experienced and developed yourself in such a way that you can tolerate with what you're going through right now, it's beneficial if you have the tool set necessary to navigate those things by being mature enough to deal with it. So you can just face it and stay. You know what? That might be really upsetting, but I need to hear this out. I'm not going to shut down. I need to hear it out. We need this across the board and everywhere. It's like I don't want somebody that's lacking maturity in finance and then they get into politics. Next thing you know, they're bought and paid for by some large, potentially insidious company that just wants you to pay them, and it doesn't matter if they kill you, right? Like whatever. It's kind of being hyperbolic, but at the same time, you get it. Like, I want to have people that are there because they have heart and they're trying to do what politics is intended to do when we first founded this country. What actually the human species did when they started putting people into power over other people. When we realized that we are hierarchical creatures. So, anyway, very purpose driven. Skip the rest of the stuff. You get past that long term and you go, look, what you're looking for is power couple. Personally, on my side, the only thing I'm interested in is power couples. That's it. I am not looking for anything else. So no matter what, if it's a friends with benefits, it's a power couple, friends with benefits. We don't have a lot of interactions with each other, but when we do, we're working on something. We're guaranteed to be working on something. So even that has that level, but that's because it's evolved from this other part. I know what I want whenever I have other people involved in my life. That's not just in an intimate sense, it's just in every sense. If you're going to be involved in my life, I want you to be a purposeful person because you're surrounding me with purposeful people, which is I am intending to bring that same thing back to you. If you're not purposeful, it's fine. We just may not have as much time together, or we might. It just depends on the circumstance of the relationship, but ideally, that's what I'm looking for. So, with this, the power couples, that's at the top of the pyramid, if you will. If you have to look at it that way, it's just whatever works. You can actually make every relationship a power couple relationship, uh, with the exception of the long term, because long term power couple is still a power couple. But the casual power couple is, look, man, you may not have the availability to have that much time together for other circumstances. But every bit of time that you do have together, even if it's in a casual setting, you still have intention to make something great. It just doesn't have the frequency. Or we can make it even simpler, take all that stuff out. We don't even need to have that because, again, this is something that is newer. I'm writing it and it's, you know what, it can evolve. If it makes more sense to you that no matter what power couple's there, then we come up with exactly what kind of category of power couple that is. And it might be a power couple, um, benefits, associated. That wouldn't even be it either because that's power couples. Um, damn. I guess you could just gauge it off frequency you see each other and exactly what parts of life you're taking on together. Even if it's nothing else, but hey, you know what? I've got to come up with exactly how many different attributes you contribute to each other in order to qualify as a power couple. If you are helping raise the children in your long term, that does not qualify as a power couple necessarily. It's more of a traditional relationship. Power couple is going to be you want to be a very high powered business owner. Okay, what kind of business is it? Where are you currently at? What resources do you have? What can I do to contribute? What do you know? What are you currently contributing? What do you know that you need to work on? Do you have something to help me understand what I need to work on? How can my skill sets associate with what your goals are and support you? And this is what I'm up to. Do they work together or do they work separately? Can I rely on you to be there for me for these reasons and in these situations? Like you come up with all of these things that actually give you a wonderful outcome because it gives you more workability and you won't hold shit against your partner that is not that is an unspoken agreement. You won't be holding unspoken agreements against your partner. You won't have to. You'll have spoken agreements. You'll actually have it written out. Change your life. Oh. So if you want to have something meaningful, yeah, that'll be the work for you. So what you do, sit down, you do the work. You give it to somebody else of your interest, you have them do the work. You two come together, you evaluate everything between your two different books. You actually would sit down and you'd swap books with each other. That's the current structure. You'd swap books with each other. You'd ask questions of each other, go one at a time, by the way. And then if you both agree that you'd like to settle in on specific relationships, you two might not agree on the structure. You might not agree on the level. But you're willing to continue simply because there is a return on it that you're interested in. Could be just the companionship piece of it. I just want to be able to feel, companionship. Somebody cares about me. Several ways to look at it. But you will have more clarity. You write the agreement. 6 months to 1 year later, you'll revisit it. You'll go over all the changes that have occurred. You'll actually give each other some of the supportive feedback that says, hey, this is where we're at, this is, and to see if there's any violations. Why would you want to harbor upset that will only grow more discontent if you have a place that you could actually just talk about it? We're 6 months in, I like you, I want to continue, but there's a few things that we need to walk through and talk about so that we actually aren't going to be, I'm not going to carry this around with me and have you continuously confirm it for me so that I become more agitated. I want to address it. I want to address it right now. So you have that capacity to, you have that opportunity. So, and then you move up the scales to what type of, like, what levels of relationships do you want? You might change the structure of your relationship, but everything is done as the changes are occurring. You don't need to wait 6 months or a year. If you know you want to shift things right now, then you would take the workbook back out and say, hey, I really, because of the circumstances of things that are coming along right now, I want to revisit this and let's restructure this thing. Let's take a look at the different levels, or, let's go through this again. You could also do that if they seem to be failing on their side, or you're failing on your side whenever it comes to the agreement that you've already made. Oh, I don't want to continue on and continue to disappoint you. Let's cut it off right now at the pass and let's address it, and maybe we'll save this thing, or we'll keep that level of depth that we're looking for. That's what this thing is about. That's what the relationship handbook is about, or workbook is about. Like I said, it's not named just yet. I haven't come up with a full-blown name just yet that I've really settled in on. But I'm dedicated to making a difference, because we spend a hell of a lot of time of our life looking for relationships and playing around with the ones we're in. We're distracted by relationships, and then we got a whole hell of a lot of distraction going on. Because then you add in not just your intimate relationship distractions. You have your friendships, you have your financial issues, you have your work issues, you have your physical body, and are you neglecting it, are you overdoing it, you're doing the right things for it, do you even understand your core values, right? Do you have your integrity? Do you even have purpose in life? Do you know how to find purpose in life? What's your emotions like? Are you all over the place? Or do you have control over your emotions? Or do you have your emotions so well developed that they don't control you? Which actually is the more mature version. It's not if you have control over them. You just have them so well developed they don't control you. Where are you with your sexuality? Are you satisfied with it? Do you want to develop it further? Is it distracting to you in your life? Are you sitting around daydreaming about the things you want to do to your partner? Because if you're doing that, do you have time set aside so you and your partner could actually partake in those activities? Have you shared it with your partner? Guess what? In this particular dating education, all 8 areas of maturity are discussed as well. Your core values are discussed. Your love languages are discussed. The structure that you want the relationship built on is discussed. The level that you're open to, and what you're up to, and then what's the criteria to move between different levels so that your partner knows what the hell they're doing and you know what the hell your partner expects or what they would prefer. You have a lot of things in that world. And then are they purposeful or not? If what really sucks is when you meet somebody that seems to synchronize with you 90-95%, but then you find out that they are incredibly purpose driven and you are not. You just want to sit around at the house and recharge and relax and just live the simple life, and they just seem to always want to do something and always out there just exploring and going crazy. Well, that's a mixed match. You need to do something about it. This gives you access to have the clarity before it turns into something that breaks your heart, or you break somebody else's heart. Or you clip the wings on the bird that you shoved into a cage. Or you've got your wings clipped. So, all right. Well, hey, that's it. Like I said, it's actually, I'm mentioning it, but it's because I'm actively writing it. I have a lot to say about it. But that's the relationship workbook. If you have suggestions, by the way, for a name for this, put it in the comments section. I'm up for it. I'll take it on. And I promise I'll engage with you to some degree. I love it when you guys comment, by the way. But that's your community too. We're all up to something. We're all to make a difference. We're not just sitting around with sitting on our hands, or, getting busy so that we're distracted from the other things in our life. This is not that conversation. This is not this education. That is not this channel. You don't come here for that reason. You come here because you're going to take charge of your life. You're going to make a difference with it. You are the captain of your vessel. This is your life, not somebody else's. That's what you're here for. So, you want to have a meaningful relationship? Do the work. I will tell you this. You do the work one time, your views and perspectives on relationships will forever change. If you do the work consistently, and through however many relationships you need to go through until you find that person that really synchronizes well with you, um, you're going to forever change not only your relationships, but you're going to change the people that actually are involved or closest to you, because they're all going to understand it to degrees, and they're going to notice that you have the kind of relationship that people envy. So the maturity project is actually about having a life that everyone envies, but it's not for the reason of everyone envying it. It's just because you develop yourself so well. You're such a high value person. You put the work in, and it shows. So anyway, all right, that's it for today. I am your host, Chad Everett Brochures. This is the Maturity Project. Share this video with the people in your life that you want to start a meaningful conversation with. Break the ice. Let's get started on it. That's your community. You're starting your community, which is also required. You've got to start enrolling people into what you're up to the degree that you don't keep it in your head. So comment in the comment sections too. That'll help get it out of your head and into the world. But sharing these videos and then talking about what you go over in the videos, that will give you something that you can both talk about. And then that will start making change, because then you'll start seeing commonalities. You'll be questioned in places that you don't have answers for yet, or you will have questions that you didn't even think of that you're going to ask the other person. There's a lot of stuff that comes out of that. So share this video with them. Like and subscribe if you have not subscribed to the channel yet. Join this wonderful experience. I don't just say that because this is what I do and this is a passion. This is my life's work. I also say it because I truly do feel like this is the thing that'll make such a significant difference in your life. I know it is the thing that will. Is the people that have embraced it, everything's changed. Confrontations changed. Their relationships are changing. Business, every aspect of maturity, it's all changing, because they're looking at life a little bit differently, but it's making it easier to understand and making it more powerful, because the easier it is to understand, the more the faster you can actually take some action on it, something you can do about it. So you can pivot better. You don't get hit as heavily with the emotions. There's all kinds of stuff that actually you're the beneficiary of because you put the work in. So just keep in mind as we move on, the path to hell is paved with good intentions. You, because you are watching this video and you've watched to the end, you yourself are not out to have another path to hell because you have good intentions. You intend to actually give the best outcome, the best that you can, and to truly make a difference for other people. But you're doing it through empowering them, not by doing it for them. No. And your actions create your legacy, and you're responsible for that. So, all right, till next time. Let's get up to some stuff, man. Let's get up to it. Right? Remember, with the Maturity Project, we grow through what we go through. All right. Till next time. Let's go do some stuff. See ya.